Dude, we're live.
Welcome. It's time for What's Up and About. Let's get it on the road. You had a very interesting thing you wanted us to talk about this morning, didn't you?
It caught my attention because I know Burna Boy went under fire for something similar 2 weeks ago. Though people were saying it's because of the way he said it. But I feel like no matter how Burna Boy says anything, people will still drag him like generator. But this is from someone on Twitter at Winnie Funds. She said, I'd never understand two broke people trying to procreate. I mean, everywhere hard, then birthing kids to the hardship is pure wickedness. No one can convince me otherwise. See this woman on the road with her 5 children begging. Worse is one is still a toddler. So we decided to talk about this today because there was, you know, that backlash then when
Burna Boy
said something similar about how poor people should not have children. So, I don't know.
I would like to say, I feel the same way, actually. I've always said this. I've always said, well, I wouldn't put it as harshly as Burna Boy said it, or maybe as, you know, blatantly as this lady said it. But I do believe that in the act of raising kids, it should be a consideration. Do I have
the means,
the wherewithal to actually give these kids a good life, education, and stability? Because I can imagine, I can't imagine actually going through at such a young age all the struggles that some of the kids that I see on the streets. There's this little kid I saw when I started my career on Adia Malakija.
Which career?
As a broadcaster. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about 21 years ago.
You're an old one. Go on.
I watched this kid grow from a toddler up until his teens. I dare say I still see him there, but as a grown-up, still on the streets. So, he has siblings as well. So it always hurts me when I see that, you know.
Wait, it was a toddler when you first saw him?
It was a toddler when I first saw him.
And then he still now had siblings after?
Yes.
And they all grew up on the streets?
They all grew up on the streets, exactly. And he is perhaps still on the streets. Now, I perhaps haven't seen him in 5 years, however, because I don't work on the island anymore. But the fact is, I saw him grow through his teens, through his pubescent years, quite frankly. It's just, it hurts me.
Well, the reality with a lot of people these days, for the reasons for procreating or having children is so that they could
one of them must
for them. No, work for them. I have come to, so over the weekend, and it's also because of my experience with having, you know, helps. So what I've come to learn is that some of these people come from, you know, different parts of Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly true.
You know, those, you know, rural areas, right? Their parents send them out to Lagos or maybe Abuja or any parts where, you know, there's a need for domestic helpers. And then they work for them. So while they're working, they're sending money back home.
To their parents.
To their parents
so that's the
and
plan.
their siblings. That is the plan. That's to tell you the selfishness.
So you think it's selfish, yes?
It's being selfish, and it's very inconsiderate, and it's inhumane. I also heard a story of a young girl who said she is afraid. So you know, usually usually they do this. Some of these domestic helpers work for a year, and then they go back to their parents during the holidays. This particular one said she's not going back for the holidays. Why? Because her parents have married off her younger sister, who's 14.
Oh, wow.
So she believes she's next.
So she believes she's next, so she's not going home for that reason. So for some parents, it is part of their plan. It's we are going to have this number of children so that when it gets to a certain age or when they're older enough... This is going to sound like an unfair
analogy, but it just sounds like you're raising cattle.
Darling...
I'm sorry if it sounds
That's why in the beginning I said it is the reality of some parents,
But then again, there's population. there's poverty on the other side.
As of January, we are now 221 million Nigerians.
Not 250 yet. I thought we had already...
But with the progression at which people are giving birth...
I will also say that it's because there's nothing out there to do. You can't afford any other thing. The only way that you can have fun is
procreate.
Let's not use that one as an excuse.
But it's happening. It is a fact.
My
Statistically,
mom,
yes,
my
it
mom
is.
is a nurse, and I remember even while I was growing up, I didn't understand the meaning of family planning, but I know how much the government pushed family planning initiatives. But you see many of these women when they come to the hospital for care, and they are told by the nurses that when you finish, especially when you give birth, go to the family care, family planning units. They will tell you that their husband will not approve.
Yeah.
The husband will say you can't use IUD because it's going to disturb him.
There's some religious, what's it called
See,
as well?
look, I'm just going to say this, and I don't know. I know some people's oxygen will be gone, but it has to be said. It's okay to have children, but it's not okay to have children if you feel they are going to be the source of your, in quotes, wealth in future.
Oh, let me jump in there.
Let me finish.
Okay.
You're not ready to invest in those children because there are some poor people who actually go all out, do their best to ensure that their children are successful.
What is the meaning of the
Yoruba name? And there are people who start off rich.
What's the meaning?
And then, of course, life happens to them.
Happens.
And so, because of that, they have to raise their children.
You're Yoruba.
Yeah, but then
what's the meaning of the Yoruba name?
Is it fair to say that parents now exploit their children?
That's what it is.
For their own selfish reasons.
And I think culture has a big role to play here because
it does, because
you have
in those
Yoruba
areas,
names, Omolasho.
What's Omolasho?
What's Omolasho?
The Omolasho, the child is your covering.
Children,
yes.
So that you get what it connotes.
But listen,
I must have kids to prove that I am wealthy.
There's something again Yoruba say. They'll say, Ọlọ́run ló ń tọ́jú ọmọ wèrè. That means it's God that takes care of even the child of, a mentally deranged person.
Somebody said that.
So no matter how many you give birth to, God is going to take care. And it's not just a Yoruba thing. It's actually a common thing in several parts of the world. I thought it was an African thing.
So just have kids.
When you read, you realize it. They just believe, have the children, God will provide.
Mary, you're actually right, because someone said this exact same thing to me. I was having a conversation with a friend over the weekend. She came to visit, and she has 2 girls, because I have 2 girls as well. And then I was asking her, are you going to have more kids? She said, no. This is it for me. And then I said to her that, oh, wow, that's quite shocking because, I mean, I know you Yoruba people like to, give birth, right? And that's not, you just wouldn't any. And she was like, no, I know that she heard some people say that it's God that takes care of the children. Yes, there is God's role in taking care of the kids. There's also your responsibility for taking care of your own children. Everyone has a responsibility, and the parents are the biggest responsibility for the children. Don't bring children into this world for them to now be used for your own selfish reasons.
Do you think it's time
it is not fair. It's very inhumane.
The saddest part is because you look like you have notes. You look like you have your life put together. They believe that you owe them the responsibility of taking care of them.
What was that story about a guy whose driver had the same amount of kids?
It was in the comment section.
Tell it.
The guy was talking about the fact that he has 5 children. His driver also has 5 children.
And feels entitled.
And the driver feels entitled. Yes, he said, so his name is King Tiobai. And he says, I don't have up to 5 children. My driver has 5. And he expects me to be dashing him money for his children's tuition and stuff. Doesn't work that way. I know my capabilities and living within my means.
It's because he's been doing it. It's because he's been doing it.
It's just like another story that was trending a few weeks back, where a lady was talking about the fact that whether a driver or a gateman, I think it's a driver, his wife just gave birth again. And they already have several children. And then she's in that point of, should she let him go? Or should she take on this responsibility again? Because she's the one that takes care of them.
Oh, wow.
Yes, many of these people believe that God is blessing you.
Yes.
So you can take care of them.
Yes.
Not so that you can take care of your own family.
Very true.
Not so you can help your friends who are in need.
True.
Not so you can even live a good life for yourself since you are working so hard. No. You were put on this earth to ensure that those with 8 children should be taken care of by you with 1 child.
Do you know what happened in China in the 80s, late 70s and the 80s?
Oh, don't we all know?
Yeah, so you were mandated.
Oh, now
you're mandated to have
just one kid.
Yes,
just one. Yeah, now they can have one. That's because there's been a lot of older people now.
So it seemed like the government was aware of the strain that was causing to amenities and everything. So they had to put that in place. Do you think that we need such in Nigeria?
Nigerians will not respect that. They'll tell you, Nigerians, that you cannot count their children. If you say how many children do you have, please, we don't count our children here. Look,
and I think it's also
very, very very important for us to do the best we can for our children.
Yeah.
But let's also remember that there's something called family planning.
Yeah.
And let's embrace it.
And have these conversations even before you get married. So both parties are aware and have agreed on the number of children that you're going to have when you get married. Very important.
We will leave our people that have 6 at once, Sha.
No.
Let's take this break. We'll be back in it.